If you'll pray with me. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. And God's people said, several weeks ago, Sarah Scott asked me to preach this morning, and I have found that I am physically incapable of saying no to Sarah Scott. It's an odd thing, really. I'm a very, very gay man, and yet I have trouble saying no to a pretty woman. Ask Ann Bell. But having been given ample lead time, I began researching and drafting my sermon for Easter Sunday. And modesty aside, I thought I was onto something here. I was planning to shake y'all up a little, ask some tough Christological questions, give you some theological food for thought. And about a week ago, I submitted to the worship committee by email my choice of sacred reading, the John Gospel, and the title of my sermon, which at that point was Easter Issues. And within a few minutes, I received an email from Sarah saying, "You remember that this is supposed to be a mini sermon, yeah?" No, I had not remembered that. So I started editing and editing. And if you were here the second Sunday in Lent when I first preached here, it might occur to you that this editing was not an easy process for me because I like to take my time getting to my point, but I edited. And as the days rolled by and Easter approached, and as the logistics of this lovely Easter Sunday service came together, special music and the children's Easter pageant and whatnot, I received first one and then another email from Sarah, each one asking, "So how long are you planning to speak?" I will not be preaching that sermon this morning. Copies of the transcript will be made available upon request. I know when I'm licked. Fortunately, as I was doing my research for that sermon that I will not be doing this morning, I stumbled upon an essay by a man named Carl Gregg, G-R-E-G-G. Carl Gregg is minister of the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Frederick, Maryland. He's a self-described New York Times reading, vegetarian, eating, progressive Christian, and professor. Now, I find few things in life more intellectually exciting than when someone causes me to say, "Oh, snap, I never thought about it that way before." And in his March 2012 essay entitled Practice Resurrection, Carl Gregg writes, "We should worry less about what people say they believe happened one Sunday morning 2,000 years ago, and worry more about whether we are living as if resurrection still happens. The question is, how are we partnering with God today in transforming despair into hope, apathy into compassion, hate into love, death into new life?" I know we're pressed for time here, but I'm going to repeat that. How are we partnering with God today in transforming despair into hope, apathy into compassion, hate into love, death into new life? This question and the actions that we as Christians should be taking in answer to that question is what Carl Gregg calls practicing resurrection. Oh snap, I never thought about it that way before. Carl Gregg, in turn, had ganked the phrase practice resurrection from a poem by Wendell Berry entitled Manifesto, the Mad Farmer Liberation Front. I'm not making this up. The poem in its entirety reads rather like the hashish ramblings of a leftist monk, and much of it makes no sense to me at all. It is, after all, poetry. But it's in the form of a list, and as such lends itself to cherry picking. To wit, every day, do something that doesn't compute. Love the Lord, love the world. Work for nothing. Love someone who does not deserve it. Ask the questions that have no answers. Be joyful, though you have considered all the facts. Practice resurrection. Loved ones, I believe this Easter morning that we are called to practice resurrection. After the declarations that he is risen indeed, after the choir singing and the children's pageant and the Easter brunch, and my husband made fried chicken, you will want some, we are called to partner with God today in transforming despair into hope, apathy into compassion, hate into love, death into new life. Our prayer of invocation this morning encouraged us to share the good news. I will take that a step further. We are called to be the good news. Look outside the doors of this church, and you will see people who don't need to hear about Jesus. It's 2024, and we live in Los Angeles. Everyone has heard about Jesus. Outside these church doors, indeed right here in this sanctuary, perhaps sitting right next to you in the pew, are people who need help. The old song says they'll know we are Christians by our love. But love isn't a noun. Love is a verb. Love is action. We don't need to tell people about Jesus. We need to live in such a way that people will want to know what's up with us. People should witness you and your life in action and think, I want what she's having. Take a look around you, around your church, around your neighborhood, around your planet, and think about what you can do to practice resurrection. A good friend of mine, a lifelong Roman Catholic, who has a considerable sweet tooth and who often gives up sugar for Lent, once told me that he sometimes breaks his Lenten fast with a Krispy Kreme or a good chocolate brownie, but only on a Sunday in Lent. He explained, every Sunday is a little Easter. I believe that if we practice resurrection, we can make every day a little Easter. I think it's worth a try. Say amen, somebody.
Amen.
Thank you.